Feeling lost? Because I'm totally feeling lost right now. Despite being an incredibly short kingdom, Lost has a vast amount of movement options and strats to learn. Not sure what fits your level? Stick around. I'm Danster and this is Change of Pace for Lost Kingdom.
Climbing out of the trenches, reaching for higher heights.
Chasing me along, all I want is you. When we was chasing time.
Well, I am the boss, I am the Don, I am the one they call.
I ain't got much to explain though. But then I was running for bangos. I was still minimum wage though.
If you haven't watched the introduction video, make sure to check it out to understand how this series works. As a quick summary, there will be different strats for different skill levels. The lower ones will be the base for the higher ones. If you're feeling confident though that you already know the strats for a pace, feel free to check the timestamps to find the skill level that fits you best. Now, let's get moving.
I'm just a kid with a glimmer of hope. I'm just a kid with a kid and potential to glow.
Let's first look at the strats recommended for runners with a PB of 104 or 105 who are aiming for a sum of best of around 103 flat. For some general advice, make sure you are comfortable with the strats that you will be using, since Lost is a difficult split with multiple spots that can easily kill a run. Nothing is more annoying than finally making it out of Wooded just to go back to cap 2 minutes later. With that out of the way, here are the most basic strats offered in this video. Mash through the cutscene and dialogue. And already you're confronted with the decision whether to do a spin pound or a normal roll. Both can work and are very much a possibility for this pace. Let's keep the spin pound for next pace though and look at the other strat here. Start rolling and immediately press A or B to get a long jump. Then keep your momentum and start triple jumping. Aim in between the palm tree and the rock and get the triple off the little bump. Now cap dive towards this leaf. Cap throw towards the peak and dive. Instantly jump before the leaf has time to move down and you should get a cap return jump. If you're struggling with getting it, one thing that can make it more consistent is shaking your controller to home in with Cappy. By doing that, Cappy will always return to you no matter where he went, and you should always get a cap return jump. There's a small risk that you will buffer a motion control cap throw, so remember to only shake once and then hold the controller still. Make sure to get maximum height from the jump and your cap dive. Cap throw and dive to the other side. If you know how to vector, you can also put a small one in here to make the jump easier. If you think you might not be high enough to make the jump, try going to the small platform on the left with the purple coins. It's easier to reach. If you made it up normally, roll in between the rocks and do one boost, then long jump. Make your way to the other side, jump and ground pound the moon. Then try to grab the moon as high as possible to give you an easier time afterwards. Cap dive, dive and double jump. Now aim here and cap dive. All of this can be a bit tricky, but if you spaced out everything correctly, you will land on this strip where the butterfly is. Instantly throw Cappy towards it and home in. Then collect the moon. You probably know about the fastest backup, but for completeness sake, let's go over it real quick. In case you miss the butterfly and it flies away, position Mario where it spawns and go into first person mode. That way it will respawn and instantly reveal the moon. And since we're already talking about backups, this also matters for the stuff coming up next. Lost is one of the few places throughout the run where you have some global cycles trying to mess with you. The propellers really like to be in every possible position, but not the one you want. I'd say it's important that you get used to multiple positions. So when you're doing ILs, I'd recommend not to reset on every little mistake in the beginning, but actually try to continue to at least pass the propellers. Backups are annoying but necessary to learn as well. And in Lost you can quickly snowball if you're not prepared. So make sure to be comfortable with as many scenarios as possible. Of course, that's general advice for every part of every speedrun in existence, but this is definitely a place to absorb that mindset if you haven't. Back to the butterfly moon. After collecting it, long jump to the next moon, and if the propeller is in the right position, jump into it. Optimally, you can now cap throw, dive, cap return jump and dive again to the next platform. In case the propeller isn't there, just cap dive and dive. Now roll boost and long jump, and once again there are two options depending on the position of the propeller. If it's there, just jump and ground pound. Otherwise, cap throw and dive onto the ground pound spot, then spawn the moon. Also, turning the camera towards the tree moon can make the next part easier. You can do that while waiting for the moon to become collectible. Now, throw Cappy to wherever there is solid ground and cap return jump. Then cap dive and dive into the tree moon. Afterwards, either do a spin pound or simply long jump towards Klepto. Activate him and listen for the sound cue to make sure you got it. Also, I probably don't have to tell you, but really be careful with Cappy here, as throwing him near Klepto can be really bad. Long jump off the platform and land on the little island in the poison river. Jump, cap dive and dive onto the stairs, then do a ground pound jump. Dive towards the moon inside the staircase. To be a little more optimal, you can also instantly cancel the ground pound jump with a cap throw. Collecting the moon can be a pain at times, and one thing that may help you is trying to jump almost parallel to the wall with a very slight angle towards the entrance. That way you will slide along the staircase wall and move into the moon hitbox for sure. Also, that way you will grab the moon pretty much outside the staircase, and afterwards you can quickly move on to the next moon by cap throwing and diving without even landing. If that's not possible, land on the ground, move out of the gap, then jump and dive. Center the camera and pay attention to the position of the Trapbeetle. You want it to move off its spawning spot a few steps to avoid getting hit afterwards. Throw Cappy into it, then position Mario to break the block with the moon. The position can vary a bit depending on where the Trapbeetle is, but here's what usually works pretty well. You can recognize this spot since it's roughly halfway in between the block's corner and this corner of the ledge. Turning the camera upwards while moving there can both be helpful to find it and to see the next moon, so you go in the right direction afterwards. In general, it's important to keep in mind that the Trapbeetle's hitbox is quite big and you don't want to stand too close to the blocks so you don't get damaged by the explosion. Also, you want to be close enough to the next moon to just jump and dive into it. Normally, the camera should now naturally be in a position that allows you to just backflip and dive towards the next moon. If the angle doesn't fit, do a cap throw before the dive. Center the camera and collect the block moon. Cap throw and dive towards the right of this wooden pole, then jump and dive over the poison and start rolling. If you're feeling really risky, you can also start rolling earlier and time a boost over the poison. But be warned that you might drop that strat again after killing 2 runs in a row to it. Do another roll boost after crossing the poison, then jump. Once you're over the platform, perform a ground pound and do a ground pound jump, then cancel it with a cap throw towards the cave entrance and go inside. Turn towards the moon and simply walk into it. Doing a roll is also possible of course, but it's quite easy to miss the moon that way and walking is not much slower. Now jump and quickly cap throw and dive to the left. Go around the corner, then long jump out of the cave. Double jump, cap jump and slide down the wall right above where the moon is. Then dive into it. For this pace, we're just gonna do the death warp, as it is only a little bit slower and a consistent way to get back to the Odyssey. Now jump, cap throw towards the globe and home in. With all of this, you can aim for a gold of 219. As already said, Lost is a difficult split and it's smart to go for stuff you're comfortable with. Fastest strats are really secondary here, and when you're looking for ways to bring down your SOB, I'd say other kingdoms are way more important. But if you're ready to improve at Lost, have a look at the next part. Here's the first change of pace.
When the time is right, then you should make a move. Hope it ain't taboo.
Now, for runners aiming for a sum of bests of roughly 101 flat, which makes sense if you have a PB of 102 or 103. Make sure you're comfortable with the stuff introduced earlier, as most of the things we will be looking at now are only slight optimizations to that. In the beginning, go for the spin pound now. The hardest part about that is the angle and keeping your speed into the triple jump, but other than that, the movement is the same as before. For the butterfly, try to cap through towards it as early as possible. That means before landing on solid ground and once Cappy returns to you after the bounce. That way you will even get a double throw that homes in faster than a regular one. For the second propeller moon, do a spin pound now. You can either do it after diving into the spot or, if you did the long jump onto the propeller, by buffering it during a single jump. Either way, not much to explain otherwise, it's just a spin pound. And another one comes up right now. Definitely try to always spin pound off the tree branch, as that's by far the fastest way of moving towards Klepto from there. It can be a bit scary and you should not force it if your position is really bad, but still, the hitbox of the branch is bigger than it looks. Just pay attention to where to grab the moon beforehand so the spin pound is doable. As long as you don't grab it all the way on the right, you can go for the spin pound. Approaching the stairs, try to spin pound there as well to knock them down. Then roll forward and instantly roll cancel to the left. Then long jump and, as explained previously, go along the wall until you hit the entrance to grab the moon. A long jump can even make it easier to grab the moon there, and with the roll cancel before, you are in a good position to do it. After the moon cutscene, just cap throw and dive without landing and continue with the Trapbeetle as before. One question that you might ask yourself around this level is whether you should go for a cage triple or not. It certainly is an option and you can consider it, but I'd recommend rather waiting with that trick a little too long than implementing it too early. It requires a lot of precision and can lose a bunch of time in multiple ways. Stone Cage isn't much slower and the way safer option. It's the last potential run killer before moving to MSSL, which for a lot of runners is the point where a run actually starts to be looking like a run. So we'll keep Cage Triple for next pace. Let's look at a faster way of Stone Cage though. Instead of the regular ground pound, buffer a spin pound. You can do that by rolling onto the platform, but that can be quite tricky. Instead, you can also do a single jump onto it, which gives you enough time to buffer the spin properly. Now, for the final part where we want to remove the death ward, simply cap dive and do the bounce while holding neutral, then cap stall, wall jump, cap throw and dive towards the Odyssey. Roll towards it, then long jump and globe with a spin throw as early as possible. The target gold you can go for with these strats is 215. Not good enough for you? Let's add some more risk to it then. Here's another change of pace.
Hurry up quick, El Jefe's coming soon. Sit up straight when she enters the room.
This pace is aimed towards people with a B of 100 or 101 who are looking to bring their SOB to around 59 flat. Lost is one of these kingdoms that offers a lot of new strats to implement even on a high level. It's not only about adding some slight optimization to things you already know, but instead learn completely new tricks and even change up the route. This pace will introduce most of these high level strats, so let's get into that. The first thing is more of an optimization though, triple jump butterfly. After diving here, start triple jumping with 2 small hops. Aim towards this darker bit and at the peak of the triple jump, throw Cappy towards the butterfly, home in and dive. Land on the strip of land and collect the moon. There are a few things that can go wrong here. If you're too close to the butterfly, it will fly away. So make sure you get a feeling for how far left you can go with the triple jump, so you know the boundaries. Also, keep in mind not to throw Cappy exactly parallel to the wall, but instead in a slight angle towards it. Cappy will naturally slide along the wall towards the butterfly and homing in does the rest. But the slight angle for the throw helps so you don't have to change the stick angle for the dive afterwards. Get a feeling for the dive as well. It can easily happen that you get a ledge grab or even take a death if it's not 100% accurate. Also, to avoid ledge grabbing, it's helpful to jump immediately after landing so you don't walk off. To not just jump off, do a cap throw right after the jump and try staying in the range of the moon grab. Try to grab it low so you can do the movement afterwards faster without having to wait for Mario to fall down. Now, spin pound off the platform, dive onto the propeller and jump into the moon. Cycles can mess with you here of course, so add in a cap throw before the dive if necessary. The next part takes a bit of practice and is quite risky, so really make yourself comfortable with it before doing it in runs. Spin pound, then do a motion control roll cancel jump. Most people like to do an up throw or spin throw. Just figure out what feels the easiest for you. Now, with the momentum of the RCJ, do a triple jump right into the ground pound spot on the propeller. Then spin pound to reveal the moon. Too easy? Well, that's not the whole trick yet. We want to prepare for the movement to the next moon as well. That's why we try to turn the camera away from the tree moon, so we can straightly dive towards it out of the moon cutscene. There are 2 ways of doing that. One by turning the camera manually with the right stick. You probably won't have enough time for that during the moon spawning cutscene though, so you already have to start turning the camera during the triple jump. And 2, by centering the camera. In order to do that, do the spin pound with an angle facing away from the tree moon, then center the camera. No matter what way you prefer, throw Cappy in the direction the camera is now facing before grabbing the moon. Now just dive forward and there's no platform there and the run is dead. You got baited, back to Cap and don't listen to me next time, lololol. Okay, jokes aside. Of course, all of this once again only works if the cycle is right. We looked at a lot of new strats up to this point, so practice them as much as possible so you consistently have the same cycles. Depending on your movement, cycles can vary a bit, so make sure to adjust things like the camera angle for the dive. The most important part is that it is consistent, so you don't have to deal with too many weird scenarios in runs. Now, after figuring out the cycle, actually dive onto the propeller this time and shake right when you dive. Center the camera and jump. Cappy should now come back at the right moment for you to get a cap return jump. Then cap dive and dive into the moon. For the staircase, try to do an instant roll cancel if you're not already doing so. Now for a big trick. Reverse Trapbeetle. There are 2 ways we will be looking at. Both are very common, so give them a shot and see what's easier for you. First off, the RCJ method. After the dive, do a roll boost, then, once possible, roll cancel to the right where the Trapbeetle is. Jump in the same direction so you land around here. Also, during the jump, home in to make sure Cappy hits the Trapbeetle. Change your stick angle towards the moon and double jump in that direction. You should keep your momentum and now be able to dive into the moon. The riskiest part of Reverse Trapbeetle is the next step. You want to wall jump at a specific spot so the Trapbeetle destroys the block. If you wall jump too far in this direction, the Trapbeetle will miss the moon and Cappy won't come back in time, so you might not be able to save yourself from falling in the poison. Your best bet is reacting quickly and trying to dive back on the trunk again. But of course, you will still lose a bunch of time from having to wait for the Trapbeetle to respawn and then destroying the block while taking damage. It's a bit difficult to explain the perfect wall jump spot. You will get a feeling for it with practice. Just try to walk towards the ledge and do a full height jump close to it in this direction. Go past the curve in the wall and hit the wall at the peak of your jump. You can pretty much say you can't go too far in this direction as long as you hit the wall at the peak of your jump. The way Reverse Trapbeetle works is by unloading this block since it is off camera. The Trapbeetle will just ignore it is there and instead hit the block with the moon which doesn't unload. So you might be wondering what to do with the camera during this trick. This is actually one of the most important parts of Reverse Trapbeetle. You want to turn the camera like this. It should be about parallel to the wall on the left, so you need to jump towards the camera to get into the right wall jump spot. After the wall jump, when the block got hit and Cappy returned to you, cap throw and dive towards the spawning moon. Center the camera and jump into it. One method done. Let's look at the second one now. Try to dive parallel to the staircase but close to it. Jump and instantly cap throw forward and a little right, then dive in this direction. Home into the Trapbeetle and do a roll boost. Now a small hop should be enough to jump to the moon. The rest of the trick is the same as previously explained. Reverse Trapbeetle is not an easy trick, but I would say it's a good point to implement once you push your SOB past the 1 hour mark. It's the biggest time save you can implement in Lost, and the trick is not as difficult as it might look at first. Getting used to it at around this level makes sense as it will shave off a few seconds in a potential sub-hour grind, and beyond that it's almost mandatory. Similar goes for the next trick. Cage triple can go very wrong sometimes and doesn't even save as much time as Reverse Trapbeetle. Still, it is probably a bit easier of a strat, so the time is definitely right to learn that one too. After roll boosting over the poison, roll cancel within this darker area visible on the ground. Aim the roll cancel towards the Trapbeetle, home in and long jump around here. Do the single jump on the higher platform, the double jump on the ground pound thingy, and the triple off the top of the leaf. Aim the triple towards the cage. You want to jump towards the left a bit and then do a small vector towards the right, so you end up in a position from where you can dive onto the small part of the ground right of the cage. The vector is not only important for distance, but also in order to dive from the right angle. To make landing on a tiny spot easier, you want to make use of the cage and actually slide along its side like this so it guides Mario to the spot. But of course, if you would dive into the cage from a wrong angle, you would bonk and fall down. The vector will help you coming from an angle that's almost parallel to the cage. After landing, don't let your brain shut off from being so relieved you actually made the jump. You still have to start crouching and turn towards the moon in time before the Trapbeetle comes for your ass and tries to destroy all of the satisfaction you just received. Make sure to not crouch too fast though, as you might slide off the platform if you do. Wait until Mario is completely stopped after landing before crouching. Once the cage is broken, simply roll into the moon. It will take a while to get a feeling for the right angle for the triple jump, but it's an important part of the trick, so make sure to practice it enough. It's really easy to lose a run to this trick, and even with training it will probably happen to you a few times as well. It's annoying to practice cage triple because the cage won't respawn after breaking it. The best way is to have a file with it and maybe even get the checkpoint nearby if you're going for this trick particularly. And if you're already on it, make sure to also practice the part afterwards, as it can easily kill you as well. It's just a spin pound and a dive, but there's still things that can go wrong, such as the wrong angle for the spin pound, as well as diving too early or too late, aka not at all before hitting the poison. The dive is just a timing thing and will feel more and more natural the more you try it. After the final moon, let's add a slight optimization. Skipping the wall jump is not very difficult. Just cap throw, do a full height neutral bounce, then cap throw and dive, and you should end up on top. Roll towards the globe and shortly before bonking into the Odyssey, do a spin throw roll cancel jump to globe. Yes, this is a lot of new strats for this pace, so it's very recommended to do an extensive IL session of this kingdom when learning all of them at once. As already said previously, it's super easy to kill runs here, and that can be very annoying as you're already past the difficult main game and ready to push the run to mid and late game. Be comfortable with your strats. That's general advice, but especially important for Lost as it's so punishing. Try to go for at least a 207 and consistent times not too far off that. Once you're ready for more, come back and check out the final optimizations offered here. Change the pace, Mr. Video Editor.
I'm human, I know when I fuck up, I'm feeling defiant. Salt in my wound, feel the burns from the tears that I'm crying. I'm human.
You've arrived at the place of perfection, or rather the pace of perfection. This is for people with a sub-hour PB aiming for a sum of best of 58 flat. If you're missing something here, also make sure to have a look at the previous pace, as there were a couple of high-level strats introduced there too. The first trick we're going to look at here is Dive Vault Meme Tree. After the triple jump, aim more to the right than before. You want to cap dive right through the sleeve. Then cap throw and dive towards the other leaf on the left. Cappy should slide to the top of it, and if you dive there, you should land right in front of him. Roll and do a boost to get launched with extra speed. The only problem with this is that you can easily not get your cap bounce back. That happens if you weren't touching the surface of the leaf when hitting Cappy. But if it was that easy, it would be boring. The biggest problem is that it can also happen when Mario touches the leaf. The ground detection in general in this kingdom is really garbage. What I found helpful to get my cap jump back is not to roll boost immediately on the leaf. Throw Cappy, dive, wait for a frame or two, and then do the roll boost. And the good thing about this is, even if you time the boost too late, you will still get the dive vault, just not one that isn't boosted. Also, make sure to do the whole thing rather early, as that will make it more consistent because Cappy can't overshoot the leaf. Really make sure you get this down, as without the cap bounce this is a dead run obviously. Be aware of the risk the trick brings and decide for yourself if you actually want to go for it in runs. It's definitely not a must. Now, cap dive and dive to the other side, then roll boost and do an up throw RCJ. Triple jump to the other side, then single jump and spin pound to reveal the moon. By the way, even if you're deciding not to go for Dive Vault Meme Tree, it's still possible to learn the movement afterwards, as you can also make it with a cap return jump on Meme Tree. After the moon, cap dive and dive, then roll boost. Keep holding forward and cancel the roll with an up throw and jump. This might look very easy, however it's really tight. Your inputs need to be as quick as possible, especially the jump after the up throw roll cancel. If you delay it just a little bit, Kepi will just stay behind and the whole movement is going to be messed up. So you have to be really confident in the trick to actually use it in runs. Don't even wait for Kepi to return. Immediately do a fast cap dive, and as soon as Kepi is back, throw him towards the butterfly and home in. This should give you a triple throw if you did it correctly. Dive on top and collect the moon. This way of doing the butterfly saves only a few frames over the triple jump method, so if you prefer that movement, don't worry about it too much and stick with that. We won't change anything for the next few moons, but make sure you get comfortable with the cycles again after learning the new movement in the beginning. After the tree moon, spin pound, then jump onto the stairs and turn left while keeping the momentum. Initiate a triple jump and get the triple around here. Then vector towards the stairs, dive onto them and continue as usual. For cage triple, there's another small optimization we're going to learn now. Instead of a normal roll cancel, do a spin throw roll cancel to hit the trapbeetle as early as possible. Follow up the spin throw with an immediate small hop, then turn in the correct direction to continue with the long jump and triple jump as usual. This way of doing it makes the first jump after the long jump really tight, so make sure to practice it a lot before implementing it in runs. After the final moon, do an up throw and instantly dive into Kepi. Make sure not to wait too long with the up throw. If you wait too long, Kepi will avoid the ceiling and just go high up next to the wall. If that happens, you can't hit Kepi anymore with the dive and he will die. Afterwards, cap throw and dive to turn around and roll to the Odyssey. If you're really confident with this trick, it's also possible to skip the cap throw and just turn Mario around and immediately dive. This is a lot riskier though and only saves a few frames. That's it for this pace, but before we're done here, it's time to look at some things again and see what you should pay attention to in order to get maximum time save out of everything. Ask yourself the following questions. Do you vector the dive vault or cap return jump on Meme Tree as well as the triple jump towards the first moon? Do you triple throw as early as possible to hit the butterfly? Do you do a fast spin pound and roll on the first propeller? I've noticed a lot of people tend to delay their inputs here, so try to tighten up stuff if you're guilty of doing that. Do you go for a quick cap dive and dive towards the tree moon? Do you get Kepi captured by both trapbeetles as soon as possible? Do you do the wall jump instantly? Don't waste time here, Kepi will be back when you need him, no need to delay. Do you roll into the cage moon as early as possible? Do you dive into the bridge moon as soon as you're low enough? Do you spin throw RCJ for the globe from maximum distance? Once you've perfected all of this, you are ready for a gold of a 2 or 4. At least that's what I would recommend you to go for. Quite a long episode for such a short kingdom. We hope you enjoyed it and you can take away some stuff for your runs. Feel free to like and share this video and subscribe for future episodes. Thanks to the team of this video. Eden for spell and grammar checking the script, Flavian and Stealths for recording clips, Zack in the Box for editing and Lupus for writing the script. And thanks to myself because I'm in fact also taking part in this project. It's crazy, I know. I'm Danster and I'm gonna think of some more mind-boggling info we can include in the upcoming episodes now. See you next time for Change of Pace for Night Metro.